I think we're going to start the meeting. We have started the meeting. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cook County Public Health Human Services Board on this Tuesday, April 15th at 8:31 a.m. On the wrong screen. Called to order. Welcome new staff. Sarah, finally great to meet you. If you want to come forward and say a little bit about yourself. And yeah, I'm Dave Mills, Cook County Commissioner for District 3, and we've been in contact but haven't made the time yet. So, but really happy to see you.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. So I'm Sarah, and I am in the mobile crisis response role. And yeah, super excited to be here. Do you want me to just tell you a little bit about my background?
Whatever you like, yeah. More is better, but whatever.
More is better?
Yeah.
Or are you kidding?
No, just whatever you're comfortable,
Okay, I'll give you like the 2-minute,
Sure.
So my background is I'm an RN. And so I've been lucky enough to live many dreams in my life so far. And one of them was being a nurse, where I was a critical care responder at North Memorial in the cities.
Oh.
And then I was lucky enough to travel and live in the world for a period of years. And it was during that time that I got to work with Indigenous elders kind of around the world in 2020. And that's how I first kind of came to meet the naturopathic community that I was working with last, where we are working towards a mission of building a healing hospital on a regenerative farm. So my last 5 years has really been working with really mission-driven startups, and it was through working. I worked with the Metabolic Terrain Institute of Health, and it's
Say that. I'm sorry. Say that.
Metabolic Terrain Institute of Health,
Okay.
where it's looking at the metabolic theory in healing cancer. And it was really through that I saw the emotional impact of trauma and how our mental emotional state impacts. It's like you can do all the things that the naturopath recommends, and it's until we look at what's really happening in the mental emotional space that's when I really realized about 5 years ago that this is my next space I want to focus on in the next, maybe forever in my life. And so we bought land here 4 years ago on Old Shore Road. So really, I haven't connected. I'm really great to be here meeting all of you, because the people that I know here are my neighbors on Old Shore Road. And so we're kind of bringing that dream into, we've wanted to have land for a while and build sustainable. My husband is a green builder. And I was looking for a way to integrate into the community in a way that kind of brought my gifts here. And I feel like when I found this role, it's a perfect fit. I'm really excited to be here, to connect with the community. This role, I think, is a gift to the community, and I'm learning a lot. And so I have a lot more to learn. I feel like I'm just beginning. And so I'm excited to get out there, meet more people. And what questions do you have for me?
At this point, I have none, but I'm just blown away and really excited. So thank you for sharing. And does anyone else have questions for Sarah?
Welcome.
It sounds like it's been a pretty busy first bit here for you, and hopefully not too overwhelming. And kind of the position is quasi new in that it's been in development and had some challenges and just coordinating, and hopefully there's enough of a base now that you're not feeling all of that pressure as well, but I'm sure there's still loose ends and a constantly evolving system. So yeah, just really grateful for you accepting the position and finding that fit, and your background sounds like an excellent fit too.
Yeah.
Please, Commissioner Gamble.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Sarah, Commissioner Gamble. It's I think you've probably learned in your journey that it's always best to aspire to something, and the more that we as a people understand ourselves and our life experiences, and then match those to opportunities that we have, that aspiring element is met. And it's most of what we do is fed by our vision of what we can be and who we become, so that we match those gifts, those experience to the opportunities that we have. So in listening to your journey to here, it sounds like that it's a good fit. And on the days when we wonder whether we are a round peg in a square hole or vice versa, it is that hoped for match with who we are and the opportunity we have that gives us the energy to continue to move forward. So you also referenced the emotional and the mental component of dealing with people. And so often when we look at the things that are on the outside and don't understand what's going on the inside, we miss the opportunity to be a gift to somebody to help them in their life. And that relationship is huge. And the more that our sensitivities have been honed to be able to discern and understand those things, the better equipped we are to be able to match our skills and our offerings to people who are in need. So, wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Well, I think that's all. Again, thank you, and yeah, I'll meet with you later, but otherwise have a great day and
Okay.
carry
Enjoy the
on.
wind.
I know. I was like, is it spring? Or I'm like, oh, is that snow this morning?
Yeah, it's winter.
Spring snow.
Yes. Spring, winter. Winter, spring. Really nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that moves us on to our next item, and there's a proclamation I'd like to read here for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas in 2024, there were 120 child protection intake reports made to Cook County Public Health and Human Services, and whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future of Cook County. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between families, child welfare professionals, education, health, community and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote family-serving, youth-focused prevention programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. Whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. Whereas all citizens need to be more aware of child abuse and neglect and its prevention within the community and be involved in supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children, families, and communities. Now therefore, and I often go over this, it's really not I can't, it's we, yeah. We, the Cook County Public Health Human Services Board, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Cook County and call upon all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for children and families, thereby strengthening the communities in which we live. And as I mentioned, I can't make a proclamation per se, but we can, and that would require a motion to accept this. Commissioner Sullivan?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to approve the Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Storley. We have a motion and support. Further discussion? Thank you, everyone in our community who works on this. Just can't say that enough. The impacts that our children and community feel from the help and the services that we provide can be life-changing and life-saving. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on, we have the approval of the consent agenda, which includes our meeting agenda. It also includes minutes, financial report, abstract and bills, appointment officers for our local mental health advisory council, resignation of Marissa Eckel, as well as resignation of Melissa Wickwire. Is there any A, change to the agenda, or B, an item a commissioner would like to pull from the consent agenda? Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamble. We have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Thank you, Melissa, and sorry to see you go, and appreciate your service. And Marissa's not here, but I'd echo that too. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to our director's report, and Allison's not here today. Grace is here in case there's items that she can address, but I trust people had a chance to look over the report. I don't know if there's any questions that we can discuss or answer right now, but is there anything someone would like to bring up? Or anything you want to touch on in particular, Grace?
No, if there's no questions, I have nothing that I would give additional comment on, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have about anything in the director's report or otherwise.
And it's not now or never by any means, of course, so. Well, then we can move on to reviewing the org charts, just kind of for our reference. Seeing we have 2 vacancies, and then there'll be Melissa's as well as Marissa Eckel in there. But others filled. Moving on to our next item, it's the only item for board action, is the appointment of commissioner representative to the Prevention Coalition. We had discussed this a little bit last month. I haven't personally done any more investigation into the coalition or just its duties. Has any other commissioner found out more or shown more interest, or Commissioner White?
Yes, I would like that position. I've spoken with
Andrea?
yeah, that's the one I said. We had an hour conversation, or 1 hour and 1 minute conversation.
Wow.
And yes, and she's been cluing me in on what's been going on. And she actually corrected me at another meeting when I said there's this new prevention program, and it's not new.
Oh.
I am.
Oh.
So, my understanding, it's reminiscent of committees or things I've been involved in my past, focusing on youth. However, the cumbersomeness of pulling together a new area with, Andrea said it took a year to get together with the mission statement, a year with all of the partners in there. And that's pretty slow moving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, it will be interesting. And I made the offer to be more of a working person with my past connections and experiences, but I was very clear that I'm not just interested in listening every month, like just sitting there like a bump on the log and going, oh yeah, good, okay. I'm expecting to do something. This is what I am interested in doing, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you.
Thank you. So, anyway,
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Sullivan.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Commissioner White to the Prevention Coalition.
Excellent. We have a motion. Is there support?
support.
Thank you, Rana. Motion and support. Any further discussion? Really appreciate that, Commissioner White, and excited for you and for the commission, for the coalition.
I'm excited for me because it's actually, it is an area that I feel that really makes a difference in our community.
Absolutely.
I mean, all the other parts do too, but this one, I know, so.
Yeah, and upstream, right? Prevention, that's the,
Well,
yeah,
empowering and respecting, so.
thank you. All right, we have a motion and support. Had some further discussion. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, now we can go on to our committee reports. I don't know if we're going to have time today.
We'll hurry.
Yeah, I'll try to keep an eye on the time. Active Living Steering Committee. Commissioner White.
Let me find my notes. You could,
Oh, we're not, there's no hurry.
I have notes on everything. Well, basically, the Active Living Steering Committee, we had a lot of discussion about the Gitchagami Trail and then the DNR and the Forest Service. It's all, everyone's being impacted by federal cuts. Though what they are able to get accomplished is really exciting. And again, we were back to the, how are we going to safely cross the Gunflint Trail without getting smacked coming out of the new housing? I mean, it's just an ongoing thing. So that's active living, and it's a good group of people.
Thank you. And yeah, speaking of federal cuts, and maybe there hasn't been a meeting, I'm pretty anxious just about Arrowhead Economic Opportunity Agency, if there's any updates there.
And that is, that's
Upcoming.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so that'll probably be a fairly sobering meeting, but thank you for being on that too. Anything from Arrowhead Health Alliance? I think last time it was just solidifying that lease agreement and all that.
Yeah, I was
and-
there.
Yeah.
I mean, I zoomed into, they just had a really short little one
Oh,
to like, we needed a quorum to say, yep, we approved it.
okay. All right.
And for the
Well,
listening public, I did not charge anyone for my 15 minutes.
I'm glad it didn't interrupt you. Arrowhead Regional Corrections, Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our discussion primarily focused on our next meeting, which we've invited tribal nations to participate, so we can have a conversation, understand how we might improve our ability to, in the area of corrections, and certainly having that conversation with those groups within the Arrowhead is something that we wanted to do, and so we've sent out an invitation. Grand Portage responded initially, and so we're looking forward to basically listening and understanding how we can be more effective in the area of corrections and understanding the situation that exists within tribal communities. So that'll be our meeting coming up next Friday.
Thank you. Then we have Child Care Solutions Subcommittee, Commissioner Storley.
We did not meet, hopefully the first week or second week of May.
Thank you. Community Health Board, we met yesterday. And that was a, I already used this term, but sobering meeting. I don't recall what Cook County has lost in grants at this point. I don't know if you have that handy, Grace.
I do. Let's see. It's just around 33,000 in CDC grants for pandemic preparedness, response, and recovery.
So it's a hit for us. Other counties, I'd say, are impacted such as St. Louis County, a lot greater. And so trying to navigate what this means, what initiatives need to just stop, which ones can we let kind of finish out, and which ones can we definitely not start. But it's, I think everyone understands the situations and the risks and frankly, the level of uncertainty out there. So a lot of caution, I'd say, a lot of frustration, of course. But I think all in all, optimism. So it was still a good meeting. The medical consultant's report was on suicides in the state and the nation, and factors involved there. Some of the points that stuck out to me were, I think it was, if you have a college degree, you are half as likely to complete suicide than a high school degree, and similarly, if you are married, half as likely as single, which is interesting. Some of the factors, about isolation, lack of community, and of course, lack of hope is there, and so trying to drill down and understand better what factors lead to those situations as well, I think is really important. And we saw a map of the state fragmented into counties and what the suicides per 100,000 were. In the Arrowhead region, it was quite high, and we discussed that. We discuss it every year, just why that is. And in the past and this one, part of the conversation was just about the number of visitors we have and how this is a very peaceful place, and the beauty in nature, and in particular, I guess Lake County is somewhat of a destination for those who want to end their life. Grace in the past, though, and I guess again had kind of did a deeper dive into some of those numbers and found just by residents rather than the suicide, because do they live here or not? And we still would have a higher than the state average if you take out the visitor aspect. And I guess you probably didn't go into the Lake County numbers as much, but
I didn't, but I had a conversation with the state injury prevention epidemiologist who works for the state health department. So what we did is we took a longer period of time because of our small population to make sure that it wasn't an anomaly with, small numbers. So we looked at a 20-year period. And then we found that the rate for the state overall is 11.7 per 100,000 people. And the rate in our county is 13 per 100,000 people. So that's over a 20-year period. It is still slightly elevated over the state average. And the reason they have that rate, again, is because it makes it easy to compare kind of apples to apples across the different populations of different counties. So.
yeah, and so I found that really helpful because the map that we were seeing had us at like 26 per 100,000 or something like that, something much higher, but and that was over, I think 2017 to.
Can't remember what the map.
It was a shorter but more recent, and so the doctor's question was, has there been an increase in the rates in the community, and so we didn't have those numbers handy to discuss, but it's just a really important conversation, and of course there's stigma around it, and it's a difficult conversation, but the more we can understand it, I think the more we can address it. Please, Commissioner Gamble.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In looking at numbers, I mean, numbers help inform us. We know through the work we do what our personal experience is, but the numbers are also informative. And when we do comparables and we look just like our out-of-home placement costs, when we look at they can jump, so your analysis needs to be in a broader context, and then hopefully if there's something that you can see there that informed you so we can address it better, when we're looking at state and county comparisons, and we're looking at national comparisons, and you can look at countries as well. And the reason that you're doing it is to try to understand, are there cultures or environments that contribute more to the problem than, comparing one county to another county. The other thing is that there are places where people go by reputation to end their life, and it's not reflective of the area. It just happens to be that bridge is a bridge that people go to. So when you look at numbers, you need to understand it in the context, and you reference the fact that it's something that we look at local populations and not just imported populations relative to that issue. But if I were looking at those figures and statistics, and if I saw a significant jump in it, then the question is why? And when the why is enabling us to be able to address it in a way that is not so much reactionary, but intentional, based upon what we have learned. And there are a number of things that are contributing to the fact that there's a sense of hopelessness that exists. And the last thing we want to do is respond in a way that comes across as pretentious. Meaning that it's a shallow basis under which to encourage people. We need to be substantive in our response so that people have the evidence of things hoped for, so that they can build on that, so that life isn't so disillusioning to them. It's a hard thing, and it takes caring, compassionate people to be able to respond when you have somebody that it's very dark to them. They see no light. So that was one issue I wanted to say. The other was that the monies we're talking about in the grant funding, when did that funding begin? In other words, how long have we seen those monies available to us, or was that something that came as a result of the pandemic, so it's new money to us that we've had now for a few years but is going away?
I think I'll respond in two parts. So with the first piece with suicide, I think the Prevention Coalition really gets into some of those shared risk and protective factors for both suicide and substance misuse. So we do have part of our team, and it's really involved in that coalition that focuses on prevention and doesn't just look at the suicide statistics and numbers, but also looks at trends with mental health and well-being. So we do have that work happening locally. We also have a portion of our work that's dedicated to intervention. So there's a training called Question, Persuade, Refer, or QPR, that we're going to be offering for county staff during May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, which is a 90-minute, more or less, course to give people some basic skills to ask questions about people's mental health and know how to get someone to a supportive next step if they're in a moment of crisis. So that'll be something that we're offering to county staff. There'll be more information coming out in the county newsletter about that. And we're hoping to make it something that we offer more regularly so people have those skills to have those conversations with people who might be struggling. We're also working with Grand Portage Human Services on a 2-day training, and it's called ASSIST. It's Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. So it's a 2-day intensive training for people who might work more closely with, members of the public and want to do a deeper dive into developing some skills to intervene when a person is struggling with their mental health. So we do have some proactive work happening within our department to address mental health crises, to prevent suicide, and also to move us upstream into the area of building protective factors and decreasing risk factors through the Prevention Coalition. And then with regards to the funding, that was funding, let's see. So that was funding that we had, it began during the pandemic. So the grant period began in 2021, and the grant was scheduled to sunset in the end of March 2026.
Okay.
So it wasn't funding that we were expecting to get renewed on a regular basis. However, the way the funding was ended was very abrupt. So we got a email on, I believe it was March 25th or 26th, that we were to immediately stop work effective the next day. And so for us, that amount of money and what we had planned to do with it, it was covering staff time related to infectious disease in general. So working with the state health department and our regional partners, we do have other funding sources that can pick that work up. It wasn't a significant amount of work because we're not actively responding to a pandemic at the moment. But the additional funds, we were looking at doing kind of community-wide projects focused on pandemic recovery with that money. So the money was, we were in the planning stages of what are we looking to do with this before the end of March 2026. So that's the story of that CDC funding that was ended very suddenly late last month.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to share just around the conversation with suicide was just the impact, and this is more of the nationwide statistic, but the impact that media has on those trends. And you know, and I haven't had thorough training, but in the training that I have had with suicide prevention is it's important to not shy away and to really ask people how they're doing and if they've thought about suicide. You know, I think there was an understanding in the past that don't plant that idea sort of thing, but it's important to talk about. And so the thing that caught my mind is the significant increase in deaths by suicide after a celebrity finishes suicide, and then also the method. It's almost it's just so interesting. And then there was also global statistics in different countries and the different rates and the different means, and then also gender. I think white males are the highest, very closely matched by Native American males, which is an interesting, Frank was there and pointed that out. That's a very interesting demographic versus Black or Hispanic or Asian or Pacific Island demographics. It was just interesting to see where the numbers lay out and just try to wrap heads around the factors involved there too. So I think it went into occupations a little bit as well. Nurses are at a very high risk. Military, of course. Yeah, but it's just, I feel like this time around in this conversation, I learned a lot more. It felt like it was a deeper dive into some of those numbers, and it's important to keep them, I don't know, in perspective, both if it's national or state or just our local community. So that's maybe enough on that for now, unless, okay. Well, we'll move on to Local Mental Health Advisory Council. Rana.
Well,
We had a good meeting with a lot of people there, and we were able to welcome some new people who are filling positions that have been open for quite a while, and that is really nice, because otherwise people have been doing like 2 and 3 jobs when they really should only be doing 1. So I was really happy to see that, and we talked again about things we've talked about here, like the vending machines, to have people get help, from a location if they need something, clothes or certain drugs or something, and they're still, I know we heard about that last time at this meeting. So we filled people in on that, and we did talk about the terminations of grants, which is very sad and upsetting. And I think that's pretty much it. We talked about youth grants, and I'm not really sure how all that is actually impacted now. There are really many different grants that the county has to do the work that we do, so, yeah.
And then Brittany Anderson from Grand Portage reported that they're going to be having a carnival for their little kids.
Yes.
Mental Health in Little Minds. I don't know if that's the title. I heard her say that twice, though. So they're going to be having that at the community center on May 25th, focusing on. I got the impression it's preschool and elementary kids, and I don't think it has to do with their health fair necessarily. I didn't think about that till now, because every year they have a fair in the spring, but I thought this was a specifically something different. I'll have to ask Brittany.
May 25th.
May 25th. When it's green grass outside.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes. Let's see here. Restorative justice, Commissioner Gamble.
We meet tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Council on, yeah.
I was just going to say, I think last time my update was relative to the AMC Legislative Conference, and the meeting there was focused in the breakout sessions when we have the different, mine's public safety, and that was the focus, was restorative justice. I think I talked about it that time.
Mm-hmm.
Our meeting is tomorrow. So.
Thank you. Council on Aging, Commissioner White.
They now have a full board, and Roger Linehan has rejoined the board. He's
excellent.
waiting impatiently to come back, and so he's back on the board again. And they have hired, or in the process of putting a little contract together, 2 local experienced grant writers to get some money. They're going to be focusing on the Northland Foundation. Those conversations have already been had about what's with the grant writers and the Northland Foundation. So it was a pretty upbeat thing, and talking about, the city's big snow pile in the middle of the parking where seniors need to park at the senior center. And their frustration with getting the city to move that pile of snow. So, anyway, it was good. It was a good conversation.
Curious whether that pile of snow is traditionally there, or if it was as a result of the new construction.
Oh, no, this is,
Consistently.
it's consistently there, and I guess there have been a number of near misses because you can't see
Yeah,
around
can't
it.
see.
People walking, and it is, no, it's the city's responsibility, not the county's.
Yeah.
But, they've moved all the other ones, but not that pile of snow. And actually, according to those sitting at the table, that pile of snow used to be over by the construction, but they moved it, additional snow, just a week or two ago, added to the pile.
Well, it's a good thing to put under the umbrella of preventative. Yeah, as opposed to waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Emergency Preparedness Committee, Commissioner Sullivan.
Well, we had an opportunity to meet last Tuesday, and we met at the Gunflint Ranger Station, which was not a very busy place. There were some staff there. Ellen Bogardner-Shamaniak typically would kind of lead that meeting, given her position currently, but she was out on fire duty. So Joe Mundell was there as our host. And we talked about a number of different things, our hazard mitigation plan moving forward, but grave concerns about the loss of FEMA dollars, the loss of staff to the U.S. Forest Service, and the primary focus of the meeting wound up being what's going to happen during fire season. How are we going to manage and handle that? And the good news that we found out is our Canadian partners are still our partners. And so in the event of fire, we have cooperation with those coming out of Thunder Bay. But we did recognize that there is a significant change in fire staffing and fire personnel, which we need to be aware of. And speaking of fire, fire staff on both the Gunflint Trail and the Tofty Ranger Station are conducting some burning this week. And so there will be prescribed burns near Flower Lake on both Wednesday and Thursday, and piles near 9 Mile Lake, which is in the Tofty-Schroeder area, on Wednesday and Thursday. So I just wanted to make sure to announce that for the public. And they do have that out on social media. They've been really great, much improved model of communication in the last year, so we appreciate that.
Healthcare Planning Committee, Commissioner Storley.
We have not met.
Okay. Anything from NACO?
Oh, yeah. You know, I feel like there's just so much jerking going on. We met the first Thursday of this month, and at that time, there was hope that the Senate would not do anything with Medicaid. They have till May 9th. So that's kind of a good thing. We don't know anything about the House of Representatives. This is in DC, not in Minnesota. And so we're just kind of waiting and hoping that they're not going to touch it. But we have higher ups that are touching everything, so we'll have to wait and see. Yesterday in the Tribune, there has been a removal for substance abuse services in Minnesota. Also, the helpline for people's mental health, that's not suicide, that's just people who have a bad moment or two and need some help when they call. So right now, it's been temporarily blocked. So we'll have to wait and see if that can just remain the way we need it, or if, you know, there's so many judges that step in to block things that it's a whirlwind to figure out what they're blocking and how long they're going to block it and who's going to unblock it. So that's
Is that the 811?
as of yesterday in the paper.
Is that 811?
Mhm.
That's the number that they
Mhm.
aren't going to have anymore.
Well, they could have it. No, I wouldn't say they're going to jump to that. No, 811 is the suicide.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is just,
Yeah. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed and hope that, you know, things work out for monies, for all the health, public health, everything that we really depend on, and then what's the next step? How do we reorganize if things aren't going to work out? But anyway, that's where we are with that for today.
Okay, thank you. Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training, Commissioner Campbell.
Never been to one of their meetings yet. It's it's coming up next week, I believe, yeah. So that'll be the first. I was on that committee before, and my understanding, they sort of rotate locations. Otherwise, it was always up in Virginia.
Oh,
But I'll let you know what I find out. In the past, it's always been about federal funding for retraining and retooling, given our workforce in the Arrowhead region, and so it'll be interesting to see, what's on the agenda at this point when it comes to job force. So.
thank you. Yeah, when I sat on that, it was always in Virginia. But now it rotates? Is that what you're?
That's what
Yeah,
I understood,
great.
and so I'm waiting
Boy, that helps.
again to see what the post is going to be and where we end up being.
Yeah.
It's one of those, when I was on it, and I don't know what your experience was, but I'm not sure how much interrelated it was to Cook County.
Mhm.
And there are, boards where we're very much, involved in, but it seemed like we were there more as show and tell and not really benefiting. That's my sense of it. So I'm interested to see how it is. And I know leadership has changed there in that position as well, so.
That was, my experience was very similar, and I think Commissioner Johnson's experience was very similar as well.
And what I would say is that, and we talked about this before, but it would be good to evaluate assignments, especially in the context of when we have a voice that, if you establish the criteria, if we're a voting member, then obviously we want to represent our county
Mhm.
with that level of participation. When it's informational in nature, I think there's ways that we can get that information. And each of us know that there's meetings we come out of that we just say, wow, that was really a good meeting. Good discussion and effective. And there's others where you went, boy, But I just know my first experience, there's meetings I really look forward to going to because people did good work and they were focused on the to-do and not necessarily driven so much by ideology. It was just, what do we got to do, and let's do it. So, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'll let
thank
you know when I find out.
Sure. Commissioner Sullivan?
Commissioner Gamble, I just wondered if there is opportunity, or maybe you could check out how they are interacting with Cook County Higher Ed, because it seems like there are a lot of job training programs that come through Higher Ed, and I would like to see how this group would approach job training here.
I would agree, and I think this was a discussion that we had yesterday in the extension, board meeting, about where do we see, overlap, in some cases maybe redundancy, and in some cases opportunity, and we want to be more effective, and of course, there's an awful lot of discussion about the interconnectedness between agencies, organizations, governments, so that we can benefit from what others know that we don't know. And that's a good question to pose, because I'd just like to know respectfully what is the real benefit to us, and that would be something. And if you talk to Higher Ed and they said, oh, no, we really appreciate the relationship there because they da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I don't know, but I'll ask. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, and while I was sitting in your position on the board, AUA, I felt like had more, AUA's job training had more relevancy for Cook County, and that's where a lot more was happening.
Yeah.
And I know there's crossover there and interactions there, also competition there a little bit. And I would share this with Commissioner Johnson too from time to time, but generally, what I would get from those meetings was more of the regional temperature. whether it be economics or housing or maybe even just culture of what's going on, and having that kind of commissioner back and forth, which isn't really relevant to the group, right? It's just, you can do that outside of the group, but that's mostly what I got from those meetings, and also gave, just because Cook County is very different from, say, northern St. Louis County or Coochin County. But yeah, I think we're on a similar page here with just the uncertainty of the value.
Yeah, and it's a matter of stewardship, you know. It's time and resource, and certainly it's not like abdicating our responsibility and that commitment that you take when you're elected to represent people. But I think in the same context of stewardship, it's evaluating and finding out the benefit, because we want to do things that are effective, and sometimes just the rhythm overtakes, and we just continue with the rhythm as opposed to challenging, you know. And like I say, respectfully, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure there's history there. You know, I think Cook County has probably had more relevancy in that group in the past, and potentially maybe Tech Harbor played a big part of that. And now that's not a factor, and so it'd be healthy, I think, to reevaluate.
yeah, I appreciate the conversation.
Likewise, thank you. No Shore Collaborative, that's me. We did meet, had to reschedule due to weather, but we did it, and Rena was there in a different role, but
Scooper.
yeah. Let's see, what can I share there? Talked about setting up more criteria for the grants that we give out, especially in relation to trips and school trips and the costs and the impacts on students and their lives and their perspectives, and whether it's international or regional, to Duluth for a competition, or to DC to learn about our nation, just all around that. And I feel like we made some good progress. We're trying to feel that out. But again, as I shared to this board in the past, it doesn't seem like it's a sustainable, the funding is dwindling, and I don't think it's a sustainable group, but we're still trying to do as much as we can with what we have. But it's a very high firepower group, so that's also been brought into question. It's just like, boy, we got a lot of resources just sitting here at the table, and we're only doling out, 20 grand or whatever. So is this worth it? So other communities have folded, and so that's interesting to hear, and just how that's divvied up. But we also get reports from the groups that we do give the grants to, and the impacts that it has, and there's a lot of good done there too. So that's probably all for now. Public Health Human Services Advisory Council is Frank, who was not able to be here.
He gave me a report to read.
Yeah, and he did not meet in Commissioner Gamble's ex officio, but there is the public health grant reports that he was hoping to get read. Is that right?
Yes. So there's a subgroup of the PHHS Advisory Council that reviews grant applications for the Public Health Fund. And then also every year, at the end of the year, the organizations that receive grants, they send in a written report, and they also have a chance to give a verbal report on what they did with the funding. So yesterday, we met with the first half of our 2024 grantees. So we met with Birch Grove Community School, ISD 166 Community Education, Great Expectations School, and Cooperation Station. And so, let's see. He gave a synopsis of each of the reports. Do you want me to read those?
Yes, please. Yes,
Okay,
please.
so for community education through ISD 166, the grant provided access to youth enrichment activities and summer and fall sports programs, especially free and reduced educational benefits for community ed, YMCA school-age childcare, and after-school all-stars youth sports scholarships for families in financial need. These scholarships not only supported physical activity and social connection for local youth, but also provided peace of mind for working parents knowing their children were engaged in a safe and positive environment. Cooperation Stations report. Although Cooperation Station remains closed while looking to hire a new director, grant funds were used to rebuild a fenced deck that was in disrepair in anticipation of reopening when a new director is found. Great Expectations School. The funding supported a variety of healthy living and well-being activities aimed at promoting physical, emotional, and social well-being among youth. Healthy living activities included anti-vaping education and prevention initiatives, implementation of the 3 R's curriculum from Advocates for Youth, focusing on rights, respect, and responsibility, mindfulness practices to support mental health and emotional regulation, physical activities and exercise to promote overall wellness, and community music activities. Birch Grove Community School. Funding supported general expenses for Birch Grove Community Service programs, including Campsite Kids, a summer program for K through 5, the Saplings Program and Summer Saplings for children aged 3 to 5, and Birch Buddies special after-school programs. The support did not include wages for the Sapling or Summer Saplings program. Another session for reports from the remainder of last year's grants recipients is scheduled for next week on Wednesday. Respectfully submitted, Frank Zio.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to add, Commissioner Gamble? Okay. And then the Food Access Council met again, and this time around it was largely focused on mission vision, I felt like. I can't remember, I mean, it was a great conversation. Maybe, again, I was there virtually, so I couldn't see the full room. I had the sense there was more participation, or maybe just different participation. It felt like a different dynamic this time, but
Yeah, I think there were more people in the room than
Yep.
usual. Typically, it's a pretty even 50-50 split, but this time there were more people in the room.
so good progress there, and just discussing what the goal is and what hoping to accomplish and how we can do that. So some of that formation phase that can be longer, but important. For the good of the order, anything else? Commissioner Sullivan, please.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair and everyone online, as well as everyone here, something I had a privilege to attend was last night a meeting held virtually by the Violence Prevention Center. And they are in the process of creating a community-wide survey to find out about people's level of awareness of all the services that are provided by the Violence Prevention group. Also looking at opportunities for, donations, volunteering your time and effort. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up is that they are looking for ways to share that survey with our community, and wondering if one of the things we might do as a county is put that in our weekly newsletter, that would be a way to reach out to a significant number of people, and that also if you have other ideas about how we might reach out to community, to share that either with me or members of the violence prevention community.
Mr. Gamble.
Yeah, thank you. I mentioned yesterday, attended the extension meeting, and there was a presentation done by the Minnesota Master Naturalist Program, and I think it'd be, beneficial for the public to be aware that they did a study because they track through the Naturalist Program volunteer service hours. And there were, in Cook County, 1,300 service hours, which amounted to about $47,000 in cash, 27 volunteers reporting service, and 23 Minnesota Master naturalist residents that we have. So the overview of those service hours, 1,300 service hours, Minnesota Master Naturalist volunteers participated in a variety of environmental and educational activities, including habitat restoration, invasive species removal, and water quality monitoring. Volunteers led nature walks and assisted with educational programs and local community events like Earth Day fairs and bird counts, connecting with near 2,000 people. They also contributed to citizen science initiatives such as phenology tracking and stream sampling. Their efforts protected local ecosystems and promoted conservation. So the presenter statewide said trying to take everything that gets done through this program and synthesize it. I appreciated the fact it was one side on one page, so it's sort of the Sesame Street approach to informing people about, you know, what's being done. So that's good. The other thing I think I'd bring to attention is a document that they have that's later life decision making, and those categories: who gets grandma's yellow pie plate, later life decisions on just resources and things, identifying financial security goals for later life and how to support aging parents, advanced health care directive, and elder family financial exploitation. In other words, susceptibility when you're in your older age. And so the university has, through their Department of Family Health and Well-Being, this document. I think you can get it online, but if you use the QR code here, then it'll take you to those resources. And I would just say relevance. My wife and I have, managed elder care housing for the most part for 15 years, and you see this on a daily basis. People trying to figure out decision-making, what we're going to do, and how do you deal with parents who don't want to leave their home, and that's a partnership with assessing people that have lived here and are looking to relocate because they can no longer stay in their home, and through the assessment program, making sure that the family is putting their parents in a safe environment, because in our situation, we're not assisted living, we're an apartment complex. And then just managing the wealth and dealing with the family issues when it comes to end of life. And so I think that's, given the demographic that we have in Cook County, this is a real important resource. So if you are hearing this, or if we have a way of linking this somehow so people have access to this, these are important issues for a significant portion of our community that I think would be very helpful, giving some guidelines. Senior Link is another, provision in that regard. So.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Then we're adjourned. Thank you.
Hour break? Got an hour break?
Yeah, and we had the luxury to really sort
This
of
hasn't
just
happened since I've been a commissioner.